was mortal once. A prince then. A prince now. The gods themselves court me to bear their mark. I have time to revel in this coming slaughter. No longer! I am the God Slayer!
So, that just happened. Demon Princes are in Warhammer 3. Daemons of Chaos Undivided are in Warhammer 3. The final Legendary Lord is you. Customizable, virulent, filled to the brim with rage, knowledge, or sensuous pleasure. It's all up to you how the Godslayer will look, how he will play, what abilities he will have, and what pillar of the Ruinous Pantheon he will dedicate his conquest to. How many of you guys had that on your bingo card? I've got 2 videos going up today. The first one will naturally be focused on Demon Prince gameplay and customization, and the second is how to get an amazing start or boost to your campaign with any playable faction in Warhammer 3 using Miao Ying and Cathay as our canvas. So, the hidden, unrevealed 8th race is indeed a callback to the 8th edition Warhammer Fantasy Battle tabletop. Quite fitting, I would say, and as some had already suspected, the Demons of Chaos Undivided can pull units from any of the 4 Chaos Gods, including mortals. That part was surprising for me. Their campaign works in a similar manner to Norska in some respects, in that when they win a battle or siege, they can dedicate their victory to Khorne, Tzeentch, Slaanesh, or Nurgle, and in so doing, earn Daemonic Glory, which will unlock units, weapons, and ruinous gifts that mutate the appearance and abilities of your Demon Prince. As one might expect, enshrining your many victories to Khorne will accelerate your ascension in the eyes of the Blood God, unlocking the higher tier Khornate units faster, and giving you access to his most powerful gifts. But you don't have to dedicate yourself to any one particular god. You are playing as Undivided after all, so if you choose to spread the love, you'll have perhaps a more well-rounded character and the ability to field every single demon in their arsenal at the expense of the hyper-specialization and uniquely powerful boons that dedication to a single god would normally provide. So there's an element of choice here, a real trade-off when it comes to forging the Godslayer, because once you've accessed the final stage of the Demonic Glory tree and fully immersed yourself in one or the other, all other glory gain will be halted, and you'll be fully committed to your path. So choose wisely. You might be saying, okay, well, if Chaos Undivided is here, and they have access to mortals as well, they have all the demons in their arsenal, what's the point of playing the other Chaos factions then, if Undivided has everything? Well, I can't talk about the other campaigns yet, but let me just say that this really isn't an issue, for a multitude of reasons, but part of it is because the only way you actually get access to all Chaos units is by fully dedicating yourself to Undivided. And even if you do that, you're still missing out on the mechanics, manifestations, and Lord-specific bonuses that make Khorne, Tzeentch, Slaanesh, and Nurgle unique. And they have some crazy stuff that is completely separate from anything you can do in Chaos Undivided. I'll be frank, this is not my favorite campaign in the game right now, not by a long shot. So, if you're worried you won't want to play Slaanesh after playing this, I'd say for a lot of you, that won't even remotely be an issue. Now, as for the customization itself, every single body part except his twig and berries can be alternated, and they will change his stats, spells, and general playstyle quite substantially. So for instance, I can equip a Nurgle head that grants additional HP and Purple Son of Xerius, or a Khornate head that grants increased melee attack, frenzy, and gore feast, allowing me to regen while in melee. Tzeentch items tend to grant barrier points, giving you access to that Protoss overshield, absorbing more damage the more avian body parts you've equipped, and naturally, that's where many of the more powerful Vortex spells will reside, with the Changer of Ways. So the bluer and the more bird-like you become, the more likely it is that you can unleash carnage from the skies, dropping spells from the heavens like a boss. But again, you don't have to put all your eggs in one basket and specialize. You can have Slaneshi legs with a swollen belly, fiery wings, and a Tzeentchian beak. That will just make you a more well-balanced combatant rather than exceptional at any one single element of warfare. The system isn't incredibly robust yet, and it does have some flaws, in that the progression is very much linear, and there aren't as many usable options as one might hope for. Not to mention it completely replaces equipable items, and in some cases, the Demon Prince unlocks are noticeably weaker than legendary items you'd get from quest battles, for instance. But more than anything, it will give players that sense of personal influence that legendary lords could never attain, and should serve as the foundation for even better, more impressive content as the series continues to develop and iterate. CA can add to it, and I imagine modders will be able to do so as well. So having this feature already established as a blueprint for future improvements is an extremely promising sign. But yeah, right now we are gearing up for a minor settlement battle in Norska. You'll notice that Raggedy Ass Rasputin and the Grand Orthodoxy of Kislev get very aggressive alongside Nordland and tend to strike across the Sea of Claws into Dark God's territory, right into the heart of your start location in the early game, where they then tend to become very cowardly and run away the second you threaten to fight. So Castalton has established a base in Black Gulch, and we're going to put him out of his misery with a Tzeentchian take on our Demon Prince. And yeah, I guess it's a good segue here. I should mention that there is no cooldown on swapping out body parts. So if there's a particular conflict coming up where you feel a certain style will benefit you more, you can completely overhaul your guy right before glorious battles joined to specialize him for that specific fight, and then switch back if your heart so desires. This is not my actual Demon Prince campaign, by the way. I'm much further along in that one and was much higher level at this stage, but we're limited to only 50 turns for this embargo, and all my interesting battles came after turn 50 there. So for this playthrough, I pretty much just auto-resolved everything to unlock some parts early and get to an interesting scenario quick, which is where we find ourselves now. Notice half my army is comprised of Khorne Demonkin, the other half is Pink Horrors. Pretty potent combination, actually. Early game Khorne units are really strong, and they provide a nice screen for ranged troops to unleash their DPS. The ranged meta is still very much a thing, but so far I'd say it feels a little bit less pronounced than in Game 2, and some of these maps make it difficult to only spam ranged troops, simply because they can't get line of sight without actually entering the settlement. We've talked a while, let's show some gameplay now, shall we? Okay, welcome guys to Warhammer 3. So right at the start, you'll notice I only have 350 barrier points for my overshield, while units like Pink Horrors have around 1200. It's because I've been spreading my love to all 4 Chaos Gods so far, and I'm not super far down the Tzeentch tree yet, so I'll get more overshield the higher ranked my body parts are. Tower spawned right in front of me. I'll let my Demon Prince take care of that, with the rest of my troops into position at each of these choke points. Maps, by the way, one of the best new elements in Warhammer 3. This is not one of the cooler minor settlement layouts I've seen, but there's an insane amount of variety when it comes to battle maps now, and a lot of them are really gorgeous and quite a bit more interesting to play. But it is more brutal. It is more of a grind, these minor settlements fights, than you typically see from like the land battles in games past. And the linear world settlements really didn't offer up as much resistance, I think, than these ones do. Even with the walls from Game 1, I felt it was easier to cheese. You'll definitely be able to do some cheesiness here, but maybe not as much, just because the AI spreads out more, makes use of the map more, and will constantly be spamming those towers and blockades your way. So you have to grind through, and you will take more losses in some of these situations. Like, one of the higher tier Chaos towers that can spawn in is, it basically shoots Hell Cannon. So when that lands, it hurts really bad. Super inaccurate, but when it lands, it's quite painful. But those same changes also mean you can defend your own territories much more efficiently with just the garrison. I've stomped some full stacks with low and mid-level garrisons so far, and it's pretty satisfying when that happens. We'll see how the defending AI plays out here. Unfortunately, they can be really hit or miss on some of these minor settlement battles. I've seen the aimless running around from the AI a few times, similar to that Khorne Cathay siege from a few months back. You'll actually see that in my Cathay gameplay after this video, but it doesn't seem to be consistent. I'm not sure what triggers it. Sometimes the AI does reasonably well, sometimes they just shit their pants, but either way, it will need some work after launch. So we're gonna go in with our Khornate half of our army. Demon Prince finish up the tower. And there's an elemental bear stomping my way. I haven't played Castalton yet, but I think he starts with that unit, which is a bit weird. I would think Czarina Katerin would start with the elemental ice bear, but I guess he's a bit more bear themed. So, oh wow, it actually stomped right through the blockade they set up. So yeah, units can move freely through those blockades, and right now the AI is programmed to attack when you're on it. So they'll push through their own wall and attack you on the outside, which is interesting. I do have 3 very useful abilities on my Tzeentch Demon Prince right now. Infernal Gateway, which is a vortex from Lord of Tzeentch. Gate of Chaos for summoning blue horrors into the enemy backline. And Tzeentch's Firestorm, which is another one. And I'm going to pop a Tzeentch's Firestorm right here, I think. That's the triple vortex. It's a little bit cheaper than Infernal Gateway, but there's more space there for those vortexes to spread out and deal damage against all these units. So as these core units push up, yeah, it's a decent vortex for sure. I'll take 2 of those cost arts down to half HP at the start and hopefully deal even more damage. I did equip a shield on my Demon Prince before the siege, knowing that he had a bunch of Kossars. The extra missile blast chance will help a lot, and actually, you start out with like 20 or 30 armor, so all that focus fire will hurt tremendously, especially when you add the towers and combine the fact that the AI just loves to shoot everything at the highest value unit that gets close to them. So that's almost always going to be your Demon Prince. Blue Horror Summon and a Infernal Gateway. Oh, that's going to be scrumptious. That is going to be sexy. So yeah, let's get some Blue Horrors in there too. Fire up from on top of that cliff. Oh, it's devastating. And meanwhile, the coordinate units are pushing deep inside the settlement. Elemental Bear is dead. Should not have come outside. But regardless, we would have probably been able to focus fire that down over the top of the walls anyway. I have that Chaos Warrior unit finish off the section of the blockade. See, I'm taking some losses, but nothing catastrophic. You can abuse the overshield of Tzeentch's troops hardcore. That 1200 or 1400 extra HP. I mean, if you micro well and you're not getting focus fired a ton, you can pretty much take no damage on your Tzeentch troops. So, I think Khorne has the best garrisons of any faction, at least in the early game. I've noticed that the AI really doesn't like to attack any of your settlements that are dedicated to Khorne, just because the garrisons get so strong so fast, filled up with Chaos Warriors and Bloodletters. But I think from a pure battle perspective, the pink horrors that you get in your Tzeentch settlements and garrisons are really quite strong. And we're seeing that here. The overshield helps a lot. They're surprisingly tanky with 1400 extra HP. That overshield's bananas. And they do a lot of damage themselves. So this combo's nice. I mean, the coordinate stuff will take some losses, of course. But still running through the Kossars, no problem at all. And then the pink horrors, and soon the exalted pink horrors will be able to fire over the top, focus fire down the monsters, get the important stuff off the field quickly. Let's pop a Fascination on the armored Kossars there. That'll hurt them. The Kislev passive is crazy, by the way. It makes units unbreakable for 30 full seconds. It's pretty much their army ability. And you can imagine when you're fighting an army of chaff, Kossars and stuff, when they become unbreakable, that gives them a lot more time to be annoying, to focus fire on your Demon Prince or make any of your other units sad. So, definitely have to worry about that unbreakable aspect. Let's get another unit of blue horrors from our Gate of Chaos. The letters may be a bit overextended there, but they should be able to beat up Kossars, no problem. I've not seen Castalton yet. Maybe hanging out in the back of the map. Can go into melee for now. Yeah, the AI is doing okay here. I mean, it's not earth-shatteringly amazing or anything, but this is much better than a few of the battles I've played where they have just no idea what the hell is going on. They've presented a layered defense here. They're defending their important capture points without just aimlessly running around. There's Castalton. Okay, he's on a warbear too, so he's actually going to be tough to bring down. Might have to shoot him to pieces. That is one thing I'd like to see changed. Sultan should not be hanging out in the back of the map. He is kind of running around aimlessly at the moment. He should be up there, buffing up his troops in the center, making it difficult for my Coordinate Warriors when they first break through those immediate breaches. He should be there helping out. I think the biggest issue I've seen with Siege AI so far is that they tend to gravitate towards protecting all of the points at once. And while that's okay to an extent, I think it's better if they focus on 2 or 3 instead of trying to just protect everything, because the AI just isn't going to be able to do that. They're not smart enough. They're not fast enough. They're not pimp daddy enough like your boy. All right, here we go. Okay, I'm going to lose those Bloodrunners. Not a big deal. They're 1-turn recruitment. I mean, obviously, I'd rather not lose them, but if I'm going to lose them, might as well lose them in a awesome way. Zinch's Firestorm. Sharing that with the world. Good night, sweet princes. Just as planned. I am not going to send Ghoul Magak in to fight him. Not yet. Not by himself. He's a bit of a skinny nerd right now. Remember, he is Tzeentch aligned, so his melee prowess is less effective than you typically expect from a Demon Prince. Plague of Rust to lower Sultan's armor. We'll finish off those Kossars, and now we can line up our pink horrors and deliver that death blow to the head of the Grand Orthodoxy, the Supreme Patriarch. What is this? Is he like the 4th or 5th Supreme Patriarch we have in this series? And yes, those are custom sets of animations for every weapon set. There are giant colossal mauls that are 2-handed. There's sword and shield. There's Slaaneshi demon pincer claw talon things. There's a lot of different animation sets. And now that he's wavering and the Unbreakable has set in, let's get that full surround off. Look at how huge that Demon Prince is. Give him a few smacks here, and that should be the end of the battle. So, 2 more things I want to do before this video is over. We will go over his tech tree, which is quite unique and different than anything you'll see for the other factions. And we'll show some cinematics from this same battle. So we'll go in and get some nice shots from the replay so you guys can enjoy some of those close-ups. Lighting across the board is significantly improved. Unfortunately, this is not the best example of that. We're in a Skaven under Warren, which is kind of muddy and brown and gross. But there are some truly incredible depictions of the Warhammer world in this game, and you'll get to see a lot of that very soon. So, yeah, fun little battle. Lost a unit or 2. No biggie. That'll happen a bit more if you're not trying to cheese it too hard. One of the weird things about Demon Prince is that he doesn't technically have a skill tree like every other lord. It's kind of like a combination of research, tech, and army abilities. You can obviously choose to go down the Khorne tree, the Nurgle tree, the Tzeentch tree, the Slaanesh tree, or Chaos Undivided. And I prioritize growth and replenishment first. Casualty replenishment is a huge problem for Demon Prince. Impure Prayer into Rotting Nourishment for that plus 6% casualty replenishment rate is necessary. If you don't go for that, your armies will not be able to continue their campaign very well. They'll be real sad for the majority of it, and you'll spend a lot of time convalescing when you really shouldn't be. After that, there's a lot of stuff. Route Marcher obviously is always a big one. I think buffing up your mainline troops, whatever you're using as your front line, in this case Chaos Warriors for Khorne, put 3 points into that. You can get Lightning Strike if you want to. It's less good now because you have to put 3 points into it to get the actual Lightning Strike mechanic. And then near the end, of course, the buffs towards Soul Grinders and all of that stuff. The high tier, tier 5 troops are going to be near the back half of that tree. I feel like his skill tree is a bit weaker than some other lords, I'm not going to lie. It's not terrible, and it is heavily focused on upkeep reduction, so from that standpoint, you can get really cheap units, but I feel like some other lords have more powerful skills, but of course, it's all tied into the items and customization too. There's a lot going on here. So let's end the video with a few close-ups from that siege battle, just so you can see it from a more cinematic side. And remember, I have a Cathay video with big tips on how to get an amazing start to your Warhammer 3 campaign. They'll hopefully be mostly spoiler-free, coming up very soon after this one. And then tomorrow, even more gameplay, more factions, rolling embargo all the way to February 17th, baby. Should be a good time. Hope you guys can join me and get hype. Demon Princes are in Warhammer 3. Let's go!